Hi everyone, and welcome to this session. My name is Chana Senavaratna. I head up the Technology Development and Solutions Group in Telstra, and I'm joined today by Roger Bell. Roger heads up Product and Service Design. And look, we're going to bring you a really interesting session on really two cool areas of new technology, 5G and edge computing. And hopefully it's going to be a lively and interactive session. What we're going to do at the outset is to actually throw a question, do an online poll, because we want to gauge the understanding of these two areas of technology in the audience out there. So please respond to that poll. And then as we go through the session, when you get an opportunity, please throw some questions back at Roger and me as well, and we'll pick them up as we go through the session. So let me just start by setting some context about and some basics about 5G and edge computing. So in a nutshell, 5G is the latest generation of wireless technology. Every 10 years or so, we hit the accelerator pedal and we just go up a G. And that's what we've done with 5G. And we launched our 5G network 2 years ago, almost to the day. And we did that because of the explosive growth of wireless data on our 4G network. And since that time, in the last 2 years, we've been growing our 5G footprint at a really fast pace. So 2 years down the track, today we cover 2/3 of Australia's population. And at the end of June, we'll cover 3/4 of the population. And, if you compare Telstra to, tier one operators all around the world, we are, at par or well in advance of those operators in terms of how quickly we're rolling out the 5G network. So, we're absolutely in there. Now, 5G is a lot more than just high speed and high capacity. There's another unique attribute of 5G, which is called low latency. What does that mean? It's a bit of jargon. What it means is that it allows signals through the network to go much quicker, and the network is a lot more responsive. So if you combine 5G, its high speed, its high capacity, and this low latency, and you couple that with edge computing, and edge computing is essentially taking our compute and our storage, which today is in data centers, and we take it and we bring compute and storage to locations closer to where our customers are. And then that combination of 5G and edge computing opens up a range of new use cases which you could never do before with 4G and the older generation of technology. So this is really exciting for our enterprise customers. And I'm going to bring Roger into the conversation at this point, and I'm going to ask Roger, well, Roger, what does this mean for, Telstra Purple customers in terms of 5G and edge computing?
Yeah, thanks, Chana. I'm not sure that everybody knows this, but Telstra Purple is the largest Australian-owned professional and managed services business. We've got over 1,500 consultants worldwide, and we've delivered over 8,000 projects to help our customers on their digital transformation journey. Now, in doing so, we work with some of the biggest brands in the country, and we also work with some of the biggest companies that are looking to embrace emerging technology as we go. Now, as we talk about edge, as you've just described, there's some definitions that we need to talk through to really make it clear on what we mean by edge. We have network edge, which is processing power and compute that's pushed to the what we call the distributed points of presence out there when we roll out our 5G network. There's device edge, which is processing power connected to the network, but on, for example, a HoloLens or a drone or a traditional handheld device. And we're also seeing private edge or customer edge, which is where we've got big customers with very remote sites having compute and processing power at these remote sites, like mines, connected to either a private network or the public network. And also what we're doing with edge compute is we're working with Microsoft and AWS, the hyperscalers, to see, if we can introduce their capability and large-scale cloud infrastructure into the edge. So look, it's incredibly exciting. I think, what we can see happening with all of these different paradigms coming together is better outcomes for our customers. We're going to be able to deliver things that we haven't delivered in the past. And look, Telstra Purple has created a great new way for our customers to work with Telstra.
So I'm going to pick up a really interesting point you made there about the partnership with hyperscalers, because we compete with the hyperscalers, we on-sell them, but in this case, when it comes to 5G and edge computing, Roger, what's really important about partnering with these hyperscalers to create new use cases, using 5G and edge compute, and what's in it there for Telstra Purple customers?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. Look, I view the relationship between the telecommunications providers and the hyperscalers as incredibly synergistic. Look, Telstra has many, many global firsts throughout the years as we've rolled out our 3G, our 4G, and our 5G network, and now with edge compute. And when we look at introducing the hyperscaler capabilities into that ecosystem, when we look at introducing that cloud infrastructure into that ecosystem, it's incredibly exciting. We're seeing two powerful ecosystems come together. And one of the things this is going to enable is going to be a new developer ecosystem. So we'll have systems integrators like Telstra Purple, we'll have independent software vendors or ISVs, we'll have startups who are all very, very good at innovating in the cloud, all now working together on this super fast connected environment for the benefit of our customers. So it's super exciting, Channa.
Yeah, so look, tell me, I've heard, one of the use cases that's been talked about a lot is, branch offload. What's that? And, what does that mean to our customers?
Yeah, branch offload, also known as infrastructureless branch, is really where we're seeing the workloads from a network or a security or an application perspective offloaded from the branch to the edge. If you think about the workload that used to traverse for a branch in Perth back to the Sydney data centre and then back again, that's no longer required. So branch offload is one of the use cases that we're seeing at the moment. And we're seeing other use cases. We're seeing use cases around video analytics. I think COVID was a great example where, we saw airports develop systems that would check the temperature of some of the travelling passengers, and they'd intervene if the temperature of that passenger appeared on the camera as too high. And also there's facial recognition within video cameras as well. So, those use cases are coming out quite strongly. We're also seeing in mining and manufacturing, we're seeing autonomous vehicles. So in mining, taking the raw product back for processing, and in manufacturing, we're seeing internal management of the warehouse to make sure that we've got the goods for the customer in the right place at the right time. And one that will be very familiar with you, the agricultural industry and the technology industry coming together. I know you were recently at Beef Week, but the use cases there again are there's an explosion of use cases. We see combine harvesters out in the field plotting where they're planting crops. We see drones being leveraged for managing feral animals within livestock. So, as I've said before, the use cases are quite pervasive, and it's a super exciting time for Edge and 5G.
Yeah, look, funny you should mention Beef Week, and as you said, I was actually out there. And for the audience, if you don't know what Beef Week is, it's actually this major agricultural show that's held every 3 years. It's centred around the cattle industry. And it's kind of wall-to-wall beef and lots of beef to eat. The only greens I saw was what was fed to the cattle. But it's also a place where, I saw some incredible high-tech on show. I was kind of blown away because, for us in Telstra and for Telstra Purple, we absolutely want to make a difference and play in the agricultural sector. And what I saw on show, as Roger alluded to, was, software capability about the Internet of Things, and also Roger referenced the different types of edge. and I came across a John Deere tractor, and we're not talking about the old sort of clunkers of the past. This was a 300,000 piece of high-tech machinery. It's got sensors all over the place. It drives itself. It collects data. It processes data. It can connect back to the network. In essence, it's basically a customer premise edge, but on 4 big wheels, and that's the way this technology has kind of progressed. So it's really exciting, And I was also thinking about an example of a use case of 5G edge computing. And if the audience, if you joined at the start of these sessions and you saw the opening video, you would have seen a fun example of a bunch of musos in lots of different locations making music. And that was all brought together because of the power of the high speed, the high capacity, but also the real-time capability of the 5G network. And that's what it can do for you in terms of coordinating, at real time, different locations. And that was a fun example, but you also see it in manufacturing with remote control of robots, etc. So it's a really interesting space. But what I want to do is I also want to share with the audience, because you may be thinking to yourself, well, how do we create these edge compute locations? What's involved practically? And so I said at the start that edge compute is about taking this compute and storage and taking it out of closer to where our customers are. So I'll take an example of the network edge. So we'll take that compute and storage and we'll put it into, say, a suburban exchange. Now, creating that compute and storage, in essence, that's an easy part. Of course, we have to make sure it's secure, physically secure, we've got power, cooling, etc. But if you think about the expectations of our customers today, their expectation is the network is always on. Gone are the days when customers would tolerate any sort of outage on our network, and particularly a wireless network. So from an engineering perspective, when we think about how we ensure that this, what we call a distributed cloud, which is edge computing, how do we ensure that this end-to-end connectivity is robust and resilient and always on? So we've been thinking about that very carefully. And one of those things is connectivity. So how do you ensure that we have redundant transmission parts, connectivity from the cloud to the various edge locations? So that's one thing. But also think about the possibility that one of these edge locations could actually fail. How do we then ensure that the service still continues? And so again, this is part of the engineering. We have developed the capability to proactively detect when an edge location, and we call them micro zones, when we detect that it's failing, we have worked out how we can then move those applications which are running on top of that edge compute, the workloads, and then shift it to an adjacent microzone. And you can't do that in a random way, because you may have a use case which relies on, which is location sensitive, or indeed sensitive to the delays through the network. So you cannot have a failure that occurs in a microzone in Sydney and expect to just fail over to a microzone in Melbourne, because it won't work, because the delay is far too much. So again, this is part of the engineering that we do to ensure that we do the right level of discovery of adjacent microzones, and then we fail over to the right place. So this is, I guess, the value proposition of Telstra, our network resilience and our network connectivity. Now, there's one other piece that I also want to make sure that our audience understands and takes away, Roger, and that's about how we are architecting the edge compute platforms themselves. So what we want to do, because we're talking here about 5G and the edge. So how do you use edge compute and leverage the power of the 5G network? And so the architecture of the edge compute platform is such that what we call expose the network service or the capability of the 5G network using APIs, so application program interfaces. So Telstra Purple could develop software solutions up the stack, and then to harness the power of the 5G network, and it could be, security, it could be the high speed, it could be bandwidth on demand. There's a concept we call network slicing. Via this secure API, we can create software solutions and create tailored software solutions for our customers. So I've kind of painted the picture, Roger, of a really rich ecosystem and capability that we are developing. So I'm going to kind of ask you, well, thinking about that, how do you think Telstra Purple customers could take advantage of what we have developed over the last period?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a great question, and there's a lot of technology and capability at our fingertips now. I think we're working with some wonderful customers at the moment, one of which is Downer, and where we've developed an application, an augmented reality application that they leverage when they're wearing a HoloLens, so device edge connected to the network, to actually go out and inspect their road assets in a different way. We've digitized the asset base, we've digitized the process, and we've provided these new and modern edge-based systems where they can go out now and have a look at the assets on the road and actually do that inspection process there and then. So it's introduced a whole raft of new features around efficiency and digitization, and we're seeing some great benefits there. I think if we look at another piece of work that we're doing with a top-tier financial services company, very much around the branch offload concept. So we're looking at, if we move those security, network, and application functions to the edge, how can we lower costs without infrastructure within the branch? Or how can we increase time to market? Without infrastructure in a branch, we're seeing that retail or financial services institutions can, have pop-up branches out there where, if there's an event happening or if there's something else going on and they really want to get to their customers to either sell or serve their customers in a very fast way, then, we're seeing this whole concept around moving the workloads to the branch as enabling that. But I think my favorite example of a customer that we're working with very early days, but is a company called Airspeeder. Now, Airspeeder are based in the UK and have offices in Australia, and they have a vision to take Formula One racing to the skies. So they've developed a flying car that the pilot will sit in, and they want to make this a competitive event whereby we have airborne racing cars driving around. Now, we're talking to them about, well, how can we enable that for them? How can we leverage the power of 5G and the power of edge compute in an environment where there's a lot of telemetry being produced by these cars? There's security regulations, safety regulations that they have to abide by. So we're working with Airspeeder at the moment around how we can enable the F1 of the future, if you like, in the air. So super exciting.
What a buzz, Roger. I mean, it's like the Jetsons come to life.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's great. So look, I mean, obviously you and I, we're kind of geeks and we're super excited about the capability here. But look, let's just check our online poll. And it looks like only about 32% of our audience out there say that they understand 5G and the edge, good or better than that. So the rest, obviously, so the majority of the audience, have only got an average or below average understanding of 5G and the edge. So hopefully we're educating them as we go through this session and we're talking about it. So look, how about we kind of go and just check on questions. So look, here's one, and I'm going to throw that to you, Roger. Thinking about 5G and the edge, how do we contact Telstra Purple to facilitate a conversation about 5G and the edge?
Yeah, look, I mean, the simple answer is, you can request a callback today, and the simple answer is contact your Telstra Enterprise sales representative. But then what that will lead to is a conversation with our consultants, a conversation with the Telstra Purple peeps, who will be able to sit down and understand, what are you trying to achieve, what's the problem we're trying to solve. And there's a myriad of ways we can approach delivering, a proof of concept or an MVP to try and leverage new technology in your environment, but not overbake it and take a long, long time. So I think there's that initial contact, and then, let's bring the consultants in. We can even reach out to your team, Channa, to bring some of the network experts in, and really set up a piece of work to deliver, to solve the problems, but leveraging things like edge compute.
Absolutely. We'd love to, obviously, we love to collaborate, and we've obviously worked together in the past, and this will be a super exciting area to work together on. Look, here's another question, and this one's about, can I see 5G and the edge in action? Can we get a demo, please? And so, look, the answer to that, and I'll take this one, is absolutely. So we have a 5G innovation centre. It's on the Gold Coast, and that's a place, and we've had the 5G Innovation Centre has been running for a couple of years. It's a place where we educate about 5G and adjacent technologies like the edge. It's a place where we co-create, collaborate. So it's a fantastic place to come. So we would love to host anybody who's interested to come out there. It's on the Gold Coast, so what we find is visitors who come there, they kind of come on a Thursday and Friday and spend the weekend there. Why not, in winter? So the answer to that is yes, and very pleased to do so. Okay, here's another one, another question. I'm going to throw this one to you, Roger. So 5G and edge computing, looking down the track to say, 3 or 4 years, down the track, what's that going to look like?
Look, it's an interesting one. Look, I've mentioned the fact that I see that what we've got today is this consolidation or coming together, if you like, of these powerful ecosystems, the network, the super low latency, 5G, etc., and the hyperscaler capability. And I think what we'll have in 3 years down the track is a real sophistication of how to work in that environment, and then the value then comes from the apps and those kind of things that we're building out for our customers. What I see also happening is the marketplace. So the marketplace where we have ISVs and other third parties, building apps on the edge for our customers to take advantage of. So it's a sophistication of these very powerful ecosystems that we're bringing together now.
Fantastic. Great answer, Roger. Hey, here's one. The question is, well, you spoke about augmented reality. Can you give us some further examples of augmented reality? So I can. In fact, in the previous session, I actually saw an example of where defence is using AR. But some of the things that Telstra ourselves we've explored is the concept called the connected field worker. So we have a field workforce, and many other companies have people who go out, out of the office, out, to the field. And what sort of the concept was, if you go there, and in our case, you go and look at a piece of complicated machinery, if you wear augmented reality glasses, you can send information that's context about the context and the information back to the cloud or to the edge. And then you can get some context-relevant information fed back to you onto a heads-up display. So if you're looking at a piece of machinery, it might give you, some labeling or maybe some instructions on what to do with it. And that's, we think a really interesting example of that. I was thinking also, I was speaking to some people from the health industry, and one of the dilemmas that they have is, when paramedics go out to triage patients, in the field, often they take a conservative approach and they will bring the patient back to the hospital, and that adds, if you like, to waiting times, etc. And they do that because obviously they need specialist capability to make a diagnosis. But imagine if you had augmented reality glasses, you could actually send information about the condition of the patient and using sensors, etc., back to the emergency room. And a specialist could then provide advice to you on what to do there. And so you triage the patient and then make a decision on the spot what to do with them, either help them and potentially save a life, or take them back to the hospital, only when it's really required. So those are two examples. Roger, can you think of any other examples?
Well, my mind goes to a post-COVID world. I think we've all work is no longer in the workplace, and so we're all very distributed these days. I'd love to see that kind of technology being used to sort of have a richer experience when we meet. When we meet, you might be sitting here, but not necessarily physically here. So, it'd be great to go down that path with some of that technology. But I think COVID has seen a massive shift in the way we're working, and I think we'll start to leverage this technology more and more.
Fantastic. Hey, look, obviously, as I said, you and I are excited about this technology. But I guess my sort of question to the audience is, what are you going to do about this new technology? Are you going to take up the challenge? Because the opportunity is now, and we'd love to continue this conversation with you, because I'm sure that we can help you. We can do some co-creation to help you, drive up your revenues, perhaps create a better customer experience, or maybe even improve productivity. So please contact us and come and talk to us. And as I said, we'd love to work with you. So thank you very much on behalf of Roger. Thank you. Thanks, Roger. And rate us if you enjoyed the session. Thanks and goodbye.